So it's day 67 of the daily dollar cost average. And I don't know if you've been watching, but there was major, well, I wouldn't say major correction, but 10% drop in Bitcoin. And actually it fell right here. If you look, it was like 16% or something like that. I'm trying to get my little marker there, but it went down as low as 64,000 around midnight, just before midnight, 11:35 p.m. Like 16%. See, again, I keep saying the same thing, and I know it's not the sexiest strategy doing what I'm doing, like daily dollar cost averaging. You got to do it every day. I wish I would have hit this 64,000. I probably would have put about 10 grand in, but you can't time it, right? But the point is, you, you got to do it every day, but just like break it up because of things like this, like today you have a 10% because drop. But everybody was saying to me, "Oh, well, you should have bought it all a few months ago." It's easy in hindsight once everything is done that you should have did this, you should have did that. But you got to remember, you don't have that luxury. None of us do. We have to move forward, and that's why you want to keep cash in reserve for stuff like this. Because everybody was telling me, "Oh, it's going up to 350,000. Why aren't you buying it all right now?" This is why I'm buying it the way I'm buying it is because of things like this. And I would assume that this is just the start of it. You're going to start seeing it fall now. And like I said, just keep your head screwed on right. Stick to your plan. Like right now, I'm going to do the exact same thing. The conversion of $333 from my DAI account over to Bitcoin. Right. There you go. So you want to make sure that you always have cash on hand because if you're fully, like everybody always says that, oh, you got to be fully invested and yada yada yada. But you mark my words, this is just the start. This is going to start going down. And if you look at the altcoins, look at these altcoins. Like Ethereum's down 11%. You can't see this, but Cardano is down 13.81%. That Anchor is down 13%. Chainlink's down almost 17%, 16.5%, as you can see right there, right? Like everybody was saying, as soon as you start hearing everybody say, sky's the limit, everything shits and giggles, you want to, maybe put the brakes on it a bit, just kind of keep your head. And this is where people panic. And this is where people start doing stupid things when things don't go the way they think they're going to go. And again, here's this Lark guy. He was saying, what, a week ago? Oh, it's going up to 350,000. Now look at crypto bloodbath as Bitcoin drops on ban fears and crypto bull run over. And they always put that question mark there so they can never say that they never commit to saying what they're saying, right? Bitcoin crash, Bitcoin, Cardano, and altcoins crash. Why is crypto falling? All this stuff, right? It's just as soon as something happens, they run the other way. Bill Gates, the Bitcoin panic of 2021, whatever. Bitcoin correction 38 minutes ago, this Benjamin Cowan, like everybody, oh my God, I can't believe this. Why is Bitcoin crashing? What just happened to Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market? Oh my God. Everybody is just, we couldn't see it coming. I could see it coming. It's done it before. Like I said, just all you got to do is look at the chart for Bitcoin. It peaked here, had a crash there. It peaked, whatever, around here, had another crash there. Had peaked here, had another crash there. It's going to happen. It's always done it. It's not a surprise. You just have to be able to weather the storm. Like I've said before, it's like trying to be a professional boxer and think you're going to go through your whole career without taking a punch. You're going to take a hit, but you got to be able to roll with the punch. Okay, if a guy hits you, how do you take the hit that's going to be as least destructive to you? You know what I mean? Like you got to absorb it somehow. So, you cover yourself up with your hands and you take the punch and you roll your body a certain way. It's called rolling with the punches. The punch isn't as effective in hurting you is if you know how to take a punch. You have to know how to take these hits, man, because people think, I guess, that they're going to put their money in, it's going to go forever, and they're going to see no downside. But it's never happened that way, and it's not just Bitcoin. Any investment in the world has never been that way, right? So anyways, I just think that, whatever. Okay, so Max Kaiser, disorder will come when the verbal, I don't know, I guess bubble burst is supposed to be how we are making the huge money with Bitcoin. Excuse me. But, yeah, and then you got this guy. Bitcoin will close April above 90K. When and where this bull will top Eric Crown. But this guy said this before that dip. So is he still saying this? Who knows? But I'm just saying that these people, it's like manic depression, man. This Lark guy, like I said, he was, it's 300 grand. Now the Bitcoin crypto bull runs over. Oh my God. You can't run things like this. You got to get in there, and yes, you're going to get hit, but you got to roll with it. You got to know how to roll with it, right? So I'm just going to listen to Cryptos Are Us. I like this guy. He's pretty good. So we'll just listen to what he has to say, and then we'll talk about it.
Ontario's COVID-19 vaccine plan is
okay. Just wait for this commercial, obviously.
Cryptos Are Us. I am George. We're all George. So this is my third stream, and that's because Bitcoin flash crashed. Yes, a big Bitcoin flash crash. So what exactly happened? And should you be worried? Well, that's why I'm streaming here, to hopefully shed some light and calm some nerves. So thanks for tuning in as always. Smash a like, subscribe to the channel. 2 streams, maybe sometimes 3 streams every single day, 11:30, 8 p.m. And now I'm having one at 11 p.m. as well. So make sure you hit that notification bell. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. All right, let's do this, guys. A lot of people already here wondering what is going on. I'll tell you exactly what's going on. It's actually very, very simple. And this is something I've been telling you guys to avoid for a very, very, very long time. I keep telling you guys, do not do this. Do not do this. And what is that? Well, that is to leverage longs. People just don't believe me and keep saying, no, I know better. I know better. So Bitcoin, I was just streaming, about an hour ago, 2 hours ago. Bitcoin was around, right around here, 59,000. And then since then, it dropped to 51,000 and nearly hit that 50,000 support, but it didn't. And now it's coming back up. Diamond Doge, well, no, I would say that's premature to declare. But what's the reason for this? Well, the whales just timed it perfectly. I'm going to show you something that is just mind-blowing, okay? And that is this. The liquidations that we just had, this long squeeze that we just had, is so large, in fact, that I have to move my camera now just so you guys can see it properly. And it makes all these other liquidations seem tame. And this is within the last month or so. It makes this 700 million longs and this one right here, a 600 million long, look tame. And you know why? Because we just had close to $3 billion, yes, $3 billion worth of long liquidation just now. And I'm expecting this to continue too, because this is not in real time. Obviously, there's a little delay, so this is probably going to rise. This is what I'm saying. Don't leverage trade. Don't do it. Not only are you going to get liquidated, it has a cascading effect, and more liquidations cause more and more sell-offs, and that's how you can have the whales drive. You can see Bitcoin's coming up in a big way, right? I would not be surprised it goes right back up to 59,000 by tomorrow. But That's the reason why this could happen. It's because you have all these longs being liquidated and they're selling and selling and selling. You know, the leverage exchanges, they have no choice. When they liquidate you, they just sell off everything, right? And that's why when you have a cascading effect, you have this happen. You know, in the past, we had a lot of this kind of event happen in reverse, where you see Bitcoin shoot up 1,000 points, 2,000 points, 3,000 points all of a sudden. And those are primarily caused by the inverse, where you have short liquidations, where you have too many greedy people that is expecting Bitcoin to go down. But nowadays, no one expects Bitcoin to go down, not significantly. Nowadays, everyone is expecting to go up, and everyone is putting on a huge long leverage trade. And this is what the whales are looking for. This data is known. I'm almost certain that these derivative exchanges are actually releasing the data so that these whales can study, okay, we have a large number of contracts, right, longs, that gets liquidated at this point, this point, this point, this point, this point. How much liquidity do we need to get this snowball effect rolling, right? And then let's put in some sell orders and buy orders, or whatever, right? And then we could time it perfectly. This is exactly what they did. And if we didn't have so much, first of all, leverage out there, and we didn't have so many people leveraging, this would not have happened. So, I mean, this is exactly what happened. And not only Bitcoin, you look at Ethereum. Ethereum liquidation is so big too. It's $674 million, $675 million. So in between, you're talking about almost $4 billion, $3.5 billion of longs liquidated. And that is exactly that's what happened. I mean, if you want to know answer, that's exactly what happened. The whales studied the books, looked at all the greedy longs, where they will be liquidated at what point, and then they calculated exactly how to take advantage and drive things lower, right? This is it. It's that simple. Now, going beyond that, how does this compare to previous drops? Well, it's about the same. This is about the same. So if you look at from the top, let's just go all the way to the top, even though we've been coming down a little bit, but let's go all the way to the top, going to where it was before. It's about 20% drop. So that's a pretty good drop for a pullback. In fact, you know, at this point, right around here, you know, I would say that's a pretty darn good buying opportunity, right? I always say buy the dips, dollar cost average, and hold. This is right here a pretty good opportunity, right? And if you look at previous drops, you know, if you look at, say, like, you know, from 60 down to 50, oops, that's not what I wanted to do, but okay, let's draw another one. So if you look at some of these previous drops, you'll see that, you know, like this one was about 16%, right? But if you look at, say, something like this from over here, where we first got up to about 50 something and then we went down, that was about 26%. You know, so we do see these drops periodically. And this is why I always say,
hey gang, Steven Sidkowski here. I'm the co-founder and chief investment strategist for Market Mastery Group.
you know, follow the 50.
Okay, so what he's saying is, and again, this is just the same, like, to people who don't know, like, investing from, like, a lot of kids, like this guy here, I consider this guy a kid. He's a young guy, smart guy. I'm not saying he's not a smart guy. He's very precocious. He's learned a lot in a very short period of time. He's a smart person, right? And probably has a good career ahead of him, so on and so forth, like, you know, investing and, you know, whatever. But what I'm saying to you is that this is called same shit, different pile. That's all the cryptocurrency is. And, you know, the kind of the virtue of Bitcoin is also kind of its downfall, so to speak, you know. And what I mean by that is, you know how there's only 21 million Bitcoin and that's it? In a way, that's good. But in a way, it's bad, because I'll tell you right now, and again, I'm talking the ultra rich. I'm not talking about some jackass that has a couple $100,000. I'm talking mega rich, like the mega rich, billionaires, people who, own skyscrapers in London and New York City, and they, they're just filthy, stinking rich. They have their hand in anything. See, Bitcoin's small enough because it's not really that huge in relation, to other things. Like I'm saying, like you could not, it'd be very difficult for you to like corner the oil market. It's just too big. Like the Saudis, they are probably the closest to doing that. But even them, it's not just one guy. Like it's entire families, and I'm sure there's probably some sort of contention amongst the different groups that own it. I doubt it's just one person that owns the whole thing, right? But anyways, like nobody really dominates major, industries. It's usually there's usually a few players in them, right? But with this Bitcoin, it's small enough that these guys who are mega billionaires in other fields, they can manipulate it. This reminds me a lot of like in the 20s with that Jesse Livermore. There was a trader called Jesse Livermore, but you got to remember back in the day, this is when the stock market just came out. That guy controlled the market, and it was all through like scams and stuff like that. Like, cause it was small enough that the general population wasn't in it at the time. And if you study about Jesse Livermore, you'll see how he manipulated the markets. They said he had so much money that he had his own bank, in New York City. And once a year, he used to go in and count all the money. And they'd have a vault just for his money. And he'd go in and he'd spend like 3 days in there counting all the money. And, but anyways, and he was famous for shorting the stock market 1929 crash, like just before it crashed, because he was the guy behind it. He shorted it and he got even richer, and he bought all these yachts, and he was just one of those like very famous wealthy guys. But as the market got bigger and it got more complex and it got more regulated, he went broke. He wound up actually shooting himself because, I guess depression or whatever the case may be. But what I'm trying to say is Bitcoin's still in its infancy, where it's big enough that you can generate a lot of money, but it's small enough that very big players can manipulate it. And like he's saying, these guys, you got to look at these big players. They're like professional poker players. Like, like you see these guys like Mark Cuban talking about it, Kevin O'Leary. You hear there's that guy, I can't remember his name. He hangs out with Soros, like Raul or something like that, Raul or something. Like these guys are around big money, okay? Like I don't know how rich that Raul guy is, but he hangs out with like I said, Soros and hedge fund managers. Like he's in the know, right? And guys like that, they're like professional poker players. They're not going to tell you their hand. Like if you see Kevin O'Leary on TV talking, I think Bitcoin's this and I think it sucks, he's probably buying it. But if he's saying, it's great, I think you should buy it, it's called he's bluffing. Like they're trying, like these guys make large amounts of money by bullshitting. Okay. And if you think I'm making this up or whatever, you're incredibly naive. You have to understand these guys are not your friend. These guys are not going to tell you, and you can't blame them because they're in the business to make money through investing. And just like an expert poker player, he's not going to go to the table and show everybody his hand. He's not going to tell you that. These guys are there. It's trench warfare. These guys are playing for keeps. It's not a joke. And again, I'm not hating on them because they're there for money. That's what they do. That's how they got that way. They didn't get that way by being nice guys and telling everybody, what they're really up to. So what they're probably doing is, like he was saying, they're looking at all the long positions. They knew, when they're going to expire, so on and so forth, and they pulled the rug out. Like that's how they do things. Like that happened a lot in 1929, probably with that Jesse Livermore. Like, because when you say, for instance, if you go long on something, right? They have what's known as a margin call. And if your account dips to a certain level, you got to replenish it with cash to make sure that it's that you have a certain percentage in relation to the stock price, right? And sometimes the brokerage house will say, no, we're doing a margin call. We want all our stock back right now. So then guys just start selling, right? And that could have been maybe what happened here. I don't know. But you got to remember, like, if you borrow, and this is classic textbook, historical documented truth, that one of the main crashes of the 1929 stock crash was people were short selling. Okay. They were borrowing money that they didn't have to buy stock, and it was pumping it up. And they couldn't, when there was a bit of a downturn, they had to cover their short positions, and it was just a mass liquidation so that all the stocks got sold at the same time. And you're starting to see the exact same thing right now. Like these people that are getting too fancy, you know what I mean? They're, I'm going to borrow the money and I'm going to go to Binance and get this and I'm going to do that. And I was talking to this one guy. He had all these strategies on how he's going to borrow from this and get from there and take this money and leverage it this way. And I'm just like, dude, like you just got into this business. Like you have to take it easy. Like you can't, cash is king. Okay. And if you don't owe anybody anything, they can't come after you for something. You know what I mean? Like where you get yourself into trouble is if you borrow $100,000 off someone and they eventually say, okay, I want my 100 grand back. Well, if your account's only worth 50, you got to come up with another 50 somewhere else. And that's when the liquidations start. Okay. So and I'm not trying to say that I'm, Albert Einstein or anything, but the way I'm doing it, it's extremely boring. It's not sexy. I get it. I really get it. I understand it's not what, is in vogue right now. I'm extremely well aware of all that, but it works. Like if this continues with this downturn, you'll be like, and if you were following what I'm doing, you'll be like, this was the smartest thing in the world, because it's extremely, undesirable looking what I'm doing when shit's going up and you're like, well, you're buying it too expensive. Wait till there's another downturn. And I'll tell you right now from past experience, this downturn that they just had, that sharp spike right there on the down, right here, that fall right there, that's just the start. I'll tell you that right now. This thing, and again, I'm not saying it's going to go down to nothing, and it'll probably, eventually come back. But I'm saying when it starts doing stuff like that, that's just the start. You mark my words, you'll be able to get Bitcoin for like probably about $25,000, right? That's why I'm holding on to this cash. That's why I wasn't buying it all at one time, because this is classic example of people just getting, sucked into the hype. I think it's a good investment. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think that that it's going to, it's just, okay, that was one thing and it's going to go right back to normal. I don't think it is, right? And it'll probably go down, but eventually it'll come back. And I think overall it's a good investment. But don't think for a second that that's the end of it. It's going to happen again. And but anyways, that's why you do it. That's why you daily dollar cost average. Like just keep your head screwed on, stay in the game, know that you're going to get hit, but in the long run you're going to win. But it's all about discipline. It's about not getting sucked into the hype. Like I said, like I'm saying, I'm not saying this guy's wrong. He's telling it like it is, But and don't forget, I've always said the same thing about guys like this cryptos are us and whatever, is that he's trying to make a business out of YouTube, right? I personally am not trying to do that. So I don't, hype anything up, but he's got look at all the viewers. He has 85,000 views. There's all these people that like it, so on and so forth. So he's got a little business here, right? So he's got to, play to the crowd, but he does know what's going on. Like he's not an idiot. Like he's being truthful. I think he's one of the more truthful, popular people. But anyways, but I'm just saying, just stick to the game plan. Don't get swayed by the hype, and you should be okay. Okay, that's it for today, and I'll